Jakarta is one of the world's fastest growing megalopolises. Jakarta currently ranks first among 35 emerging world cities in terms of potential to improve their global standing within the next few decades. It is the country's largest city and political economic hub of Indonesia. The city's built environment is characterized physically by numerous skyscrapers concentrated in the central business district, but also built ad hoc throughout the city, especially in the last 20 years. The rest of Jakarta generally compromises low-lying, densely populated neighborhoods, which are highly diverse in terms of income levels and uses, and many of these neighborhoods are home to varied informal economic activities. This city style represents a sector model. The population of Jakarta is considered wealthy relative to neighboring provinces and other islands, and indeed its gross domestic product per capita is more than 4 times the national average. The poorest communities in Jakarta live in self-constructed settlements, usually on land without formal legal title, and work in informal jobs. In some instances, illegal and undocumented land leasing and landlord-tenant contracting are practiced. Jakarta has a history of these informal settlements. In many of these areas, some individuals and families have lived in what could be considered slums for decades, so well-established social networks and cultural identities in these areas of Jakarta run extremely deep. While the numbers for Jakarta may be slightly lower and remain hard to accurately measure, up to 68% of Indonesians across the country make their living through informal means. In most areas of Jakarta, the residents of informal settlements work as maids, janitors, satin security guards, parking attendants, and also run small local businesses such as food stalls and small togos, which are retail kiosks. In coastal settlements, fishermen are key to providing larger companies with supplies of fish to sell across the city. As the largest city in the capital, Jakarta houses many students from around Indonesia, many of whom reside in dormitories or homestay residences. For basic education, there are a variety of primary and secondary schools, tagged with public, private, and international schools. Compulsory education in Indonesia lasts for a total of 9 years. This includes 6 years of primary school education, which begins with when a child is 6 or 7. This is followed by 3 years of secondary school, which begins at the age of 12 or 13. After that, students either enroll in high school or for another 3 years, or some children choose to find a job and start working. In general, students who have graduated will go directly to university. However, due to either financial constraints or academic stress, some students drop out and opt for pre-university or associate's degrees. In Indonesia, the unemployment rate measures the number of people actively looking for a job as a percentage of the labor force. Most workers are recorded in the agriculture sector, while the rest work in trade, social services, industry, construction, transportation, finance, and other sectors. The unemployment rate is currently at 5.94%. Jakarta has an estimated population of 10.2 million in 2014, up from 9.58 million in 2010. Jakarta is now considered a global city and one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Interestingly, Jakarta now has the highest return on investment for luxury real estate in 2014 compared to any other city on Earth. The metropolitan area of Jakarta has a population that exceeds 28 million with a total of 1,693 square miles. The city proper has a very high population density of 37,460 people per square mile, when the metro area has a density of 11,353 people per square mile. With the only legal residents counted, the population of Jakarta doubled from 4.5 million in 1970 to more than 9.5 million in 2010, while the population of Jakarta region has grown from 8.2 million to 28.5 million during the same 40 years. The growth rate of the area far exceeded government expectations, as well as the national average, which was a modest growth of 1% from 2000 to 2010, compared to the 3.6% rate of the Jakarta region. The 2010 census found that all areas within the DKI Jakarta had a positive growth rate in the last decade, with the slowest growth in central Jakarta. Jakarta is now becoming starved for resources by its own population, which is ever growing. It was designed to handle 800,000 people when founded by the Dutch, although it's now home to up to 12 million people during the work week, with 250,000 new residents coming into the Jakarta region each year. This has given rise to many slums without access to water. By 2020, the population of Greater Jakarta is expected to go from 25 million to 35 million, with a mass migration that will further worsen the problems for the residents, including poor sanitation, a lack of housing, and transportation issues.
Nestled in a valley in the foothills of the Andes Mountains, Caracas was founded on July 25, 1567. While Francisco Fajardo discovered the land and named the first settlement, Diego de Losada is the official founder of the city. Losada was able to defeat the incumbent Turomema Indian tribe and re-establish the first settlement under the name of Santiago de Leon de Caracas. After discovering the city, Losada believed he found a city with great potential for agricultural growth and within a good proximity to a port. What started as a small city with about 60 families is now a city of over 3.5 million. But that growth did not come without troubles. In 1595, there was a pirate attack that burned the city down, and after collective efforts to feverishly rebuild the city, an earthquake claiming the lives of 500 citizens hit. It was not until the 18th century that things started looking bright for Caracas. The University of Central Venezuela was founded and a large trading company was established. The trading company dominated trade between Spain and the colony and made significant economic contributions to Caracas. In the early 20th century, Caracas was still not known for much and had only grown a little bit. But things changed in 1914 when oil was discovered in the Maracaibo Basin, causing a population spike in the 1970s. With this sudden population spike, it is no surprise that 32% of Caracas residents live in informal settlements known as barrios. While so many residents live in these settlements, the government has tried to do its part in helping. Recently, the city experimented with housing 4,000 squatters in an abandoned 45-story skyscraper. The building was left incomplete after a financial crisis in the 90s and was first occupied in 2007 by families made homeless by floods. The city was met with dilemmas because they did not want to validate the residence as permanent, but needed housing. They decided last year that the homeless that were living there could no longer occupy the building. In 1999, the government of Venezuela, along with the World Bank, joined together to upgrade the barrios in Caracas with the objective to improve the living conditions in two large agglomerations of barrios. Comparatively, 4.3% of Warsaw's residents are poor and 26% of Jakarta's residents are poor. The literacy rates in Caracas are a direct reflection of education policies. All residents must attend 6 years of school, but on average they attend 9. But after the first 6 years, schooling is optional, and to attend college, students must obtain satisfactory scores on college entrance exams. With the poor public school system, the majority of students attend private schools, so it is no surprise that the overall literacy rate is 91%. While in Warsaw, residents are required to attend 16 years of school, and the literacy rate is almost 99%. And in Jakarta, they are required to attend 13 years of school, and the literacy rate is over 90%. That leads me to the unemployment rate in Caracas. As of 2013, unemployment was at its third lowest percentage at 6.1%. This is not too surprising since the government implemented new social and economic projects called missions. The missions are to implement low-interest loans for small and medium-sized companies, proliferate cooperatives, implement an agricultural plan fueled by land reform, and the government has made a conscious effort to increase state purchasing and contracting through local companies. Caracas has experienced many highs and lows in population throughout the years. From 1990 to 1995, there was a 35% increase in population. From 95 to 2000, there was a 34% increase. From 2000 to 2005, there was a 45% increase. From 2005 to 2010, there was a 107% increase. And within the last 5 years was the largest increase of 127%. Over the next 5 years, Caracas is expected to grow by 103%, and then from 2020 to 2025, they are expected to grow 78%.
Along the banks of the Vistula River, the gleaming city of Warsaw sits, which is also the capital of Poland. The city has a rich and exciting history. According to legend, a prince was hunting in the woods when he happened upon a mermaid, who directed him to a fisherman's hut. When he got there, the fisherman and his wife offered him what little food they had. Awed by their hospitality, the prince offered to baptize the fishermen's children, naming the boy Horse and the girl Sawa. He also gave the fishermen the surrounding forest to build a city, the city that became Warsaw. The mermaid that directed the prince to the fisherman's hut offered to protect the twins from harm, and thus is now a symbol of the city of Warsaw. In reality, Warsaw grew around a medieval castle by the same name, giving the name to the town Warsaw is located. Located on the Vistula River, about halfway between Poland's other large city, Krakow, and the Baltic Sea. Historically, when Poland and Lithuania joined in the 1500s, the capital of this new country was moved to Warsaw, as its central location made it ideal. Up until the 20th century, Warsaw grew into one of the great cities of Europe, surviving the Napoleonic Wars, Russia's annexation, and World War I. However, by World War II, Warsaw's Jewish population, about 30% of the total population, was sent to live in Warsaw's first informal settlement called a ghetto. Today, however, this informal settlement is destroyed. Warsaw today almost has no informal settlements, as it is the capital city of an industrial nation. Population-wise, after the forced relocation of 30% of its population, the population fell to historic lows but quickly recovered after the war. Today, Warsaw has a population of 1.72 million, growing by almost 100,000 since 1990. However, in the next 10 years, growth is expected to slow and be only 0.02%, with an estimated population being 20,000 higher than it is today. Now on to education. Warsaw requires its citizens to go to school for at least 16 years, giving the city an excellent high literacy rate of 99.7%. With so much of the population educated, the unemployment rate is only 4.3%, making the country in general a very wealthy nation with a strong economic backbone. But even these 4.3% can correctly pronounce the name of Warsaw, Warszawa, and other Polish cities.